Welcome everybody to the Tuesday, February 27th meeting of the Health and Education Committee. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes.
I move we approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. All right, Health Department, let's get it. Yes.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good day.
Great. Great.
I bring to you today the January report from the Health Department, and we're starting out the year pretty much where we would expect to be at this point. We've had a lot of outreach activities that we've been doing with the community baby shower, and we've been part of the grassroots growth of an opioid task force that we've been working with. And we had one of our first community meetings, just kind of trying to tackle some of the issues around the opioid issues. And we had over 100 community agencies and that came out to learn. You know, we're all kind of working in our silos to fight this problem. So we're trying to pull everybody together and say, you know, what can we do to tackle that? And, you know, so we're just really getting started with that. But I was pleased to see how many different agencies and people that came out and want to work together.
Are you leading
on the
that?
issue? No, it's just grassroots. So a doctor from the hospital called and said, hey, can you help me pull together some community members? And, you know, so we've pulled together and spread the word. And it is part of our community health improvement plan. One of the things that we tackle, the big four, substance misuse and abuse is one of the big four. So obesity, inactivity, tobacco use, and substance abuse. So it is one of the things we've been tackling and working on, but it's just a new perspective, trying to pull those people together. And now we're kind of talking about, okay, how can we tackle it? We'll have like a prevention side, a treatment side, referral and connection to services side, and then we can kind of report to each other and keep up with how can this side help that side, that kind of thing. So I'll keep you up to date as we go forward on what's going on in it, but I'm excited to see that there's some movement around bringing everybody together on that problem.
Was Trey King with probation and recovery court, he was included?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
That was just stakeholders, not in this meeting. It was just the community
Yes, right.
programs and leadership in that.
Exactly. Part of what we do in our community health needs assessment, our listening station, listening sessions that we do with the community to find out, you know, input from the community members themselves. But yes, this was just a beginning, kind of pulling stakeholders together that are all working on the problem from different angles. Like Trey is working on a different angle that I'm working on, and the hospital's working on a different angle. The pharmacies are working on different angles. So
I just know he has such a broad spectrum of resources that he draws from that I felt like he'd have some wisdom to contribute to that group. So
absolutely, he
that's
was
great.
my first call when the doctor called me. I said,
Yeah.
yes, we've got to get him to the table as well. So, yeah.
Anything noteworthy, any major jumps or changes? Point
No.
out? Any questions for Ms. Garrett?
You mentioned,
I was in East Tennessee, and maybe the last week of January, something like that, and watching the news. Down at the bottom of the TV was a ticker tape with what I thought was school closings because of weather, and every single solitary one of them was because of illness, mostly the flu. I guess we're kind of blessed because it was scary watching that.
Yeah.
Have you been bombarded with flu cases, and do you test for it and then treat those?
Yes, we do test and treat on site. We also do the prevention part, offering the flu vaccine. Since early January, that's been free, of course, as well. And so, yes, we hit it from many different angles. But I think we talked about it in our county before. With our geographic size being large, what hits one end of the county, by the time those people are getting better, it's moving across. So it doesn't hit us like it would a small geographic county for the school impact, like what you were seeing. I think we have seen the peak of the flu season, so that's good. I think we'll start to see leveling off and coming down now. But yes, just trying to do as much as we can on the prevention education of the vaccinations, and then, stay home when you're sick, stay home from school and church and groceries and all of that when you're sick, and not spread it, hand washing, the basics like that. That's what we can do each year to kind of prepare and
But
get
your
ready for the
department
flu.
has not been overwhelmed.
Not overwhelmed with flu cases, just the normal amount that we would see at this time. It's not been a huge spike or anything.
Move to approve the report.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Do you have anything else for us?
No, that was it, thank you.
All right, the community care report is on your iPad. I had an opportunity to look over that, and it looks like everything's in order. Census is good as at 116. The financials look consistent with that. Looks like they've hired 15 new employees and 13 made it through orientation, which is good. So that's a pretty good percentage. But it's a pretty brief report, just one page this month. So I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Special projects. How are you, Miss Jolly? I'm good.
Well, I don't have any kind of amendments or anything for this report, so I guess if you had any questions, it's just general paying bills. That's all that we've done this month.
Any additions or just pretty much like it was
Mhm.
last month? But
Yes. Just posting a few more payments.
Do we know, Mr. Sandvik, maybe let me answer this, do you know how much longer before we can close out the David Urey renovation?
I sent an amendment to Mrs. Michaels today.
Any more questions? I will entertain a motion.
Move we approve the report.
All in favor? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Awesome. School board.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, we'd like to begin with an amendment. This is to the general purpose school budget for insurance proceeds. And this amendment takes $388,199 in insurance recovery funds that we have received or will receive for the Blackman Wrestling Building, if you remember that one, which was $336,048. And then the Riverdale concession stand, which is $52,151 from their fire. And this budget to these funds so that the rebuilding and replacement projects can go forward. So the motion we have would be to amend the $336,048 in insurance recovery funds for the Blackman Wrestling Building, related expenditures to amend $52,151 in insurance recovery funds for the Riverdale concession stand, and related expenditures as presented.
Good. Let's take these two separately since the next one's building program.
Okay? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And is this going to be enough money to complete both those projects? We're going to have to add to it, the insurance recovery funds. We'll cover those or no?
It's taking more, of course, we have the $100,000 deductible.
Right.
Yeah.
For each incident. So I'm in the process right now of working with Blackman. They're talking about moving the wrestling building over there and at high school, and partnering up with ROTC and pooling their money with these insurance funds. So we're working through that right now, trying to get a budget together. And since they're putting that back up, I assume that they're going to raise the funds that are needed to complete that. And then on the Riverdale, we've just about got that through, but it's gonna run probably $50,000 more than the insurance paid, because of course we had a $100,000 deductible on that.
Right.
So we only collected 52 from them.
Right.
So
Your staff has done some of the work on maintenance. You guys-
On Riverdale, we're doing it ourselves. Save quite a bit of money.
Need a motion for that budget proposal?
Which one?
But we're just taking the first one, the insurance proceeds. We're just collecting the money and then proportioning it back to the projects it was collected for.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes. All right. We're gonna talk about building program now.
Okay, let's take a look at some building program. The top sheet, and I'll wait till everybody gets one. Mr. Phillips, I think, got to get one. Ms. Cook. The top sheet, which is the district attendance record, this is actually for today. We share this with you periodically. So this is attendance for today. And Rutherford County Schools this morning had 44,911 students in the K through 12. You count all the part-time and some of the 3-year-olds and everything where we serve under the federal law and all, that's 45,661 that we actually serve, that many different students. Interestingly, again, and this is not the first time, of course, you've seen that, we're still seeing our largest growth. We're up 1,084 over the end of the 6th month last year. So this is year to year, same time period, 1,084 students. Earlier in the year, this number was closer to 1,000 to less than 1,050. So kind of unusual that I've seen growth in January and February this year. I guess some more houses or apartments and all. So we are continuing to grow, which is a little bit unusual for this time of year in this pattern. But as you can see of those, the high schools have gained 372 students. The 3 middle school grades has grown 426 students. And then your elementary, which you got 6 grades in elementary, they've grown by 289 students. But anyway, that's a pattern for you to see. The column of percent change, which is the third one from the right side, just lets you see the growth in each school over 1 year ago also. You can kind of take out alternative schools because they go up and down. But kind of taking that out, you basically have 11 schools, not 12, but 11, that have had 4% or higher growth. The whole district growth today was 2.41%, but the entire district is up at really 2.41. The last column there is our free reduced numbers, just poverty numbers that you may be interested in also. The second page is one where I've had the computer to do some clustering for us to let you see. We talk about where the growth happens to be. Again, if we're 2.41 for the district, the elementary schools in the south and east is 2.7%. You can see some individual schools that may be up or down a little bit. Middle schools in the south and east is up 4.2%. So again, middle schools are up, and that one begins to show. Largest growth has been Blackman Middle School with 65 more this year, and Rockvale with 64. Then Whitworth with 47, so you're seeing a lot of growth there. In the elementary schools in the Smyrna area, about a 3% growth. Some up and down, it's mixed a little bit. But middle schools, that's all of our middle schools basically listed in that next section, 3.9% for the whole county. High school growth is 2.6% for all of our high schools. The elementary cluster in Laverne is still growing the slowest at 0.2%. And the middle school cluster in Laverne has not grown very much this year. You can see that they're actually a little bit less than they were last year. Now, as you look at middle schools and you see a negative percentage, remember we opened Rocky Fork this year. So your decline in the students primarily is because you moved students from Smyrna Middle. You moved students from Rock Springs Middle School. You moved students, from Stewart's Creek and that sort of thing. So the new count for Rocky Fork then took that place. They were grandfathered 1 year. So you'll see Rocky Fork go up quite a bit the next year. But our board takes a look at basically a lot of the second sheet, first sheet and second sheet. Where's the growth? What are we seeing? What do we kind of need to do? We still have 146 portables. I need to remind you, I think, of that. And so we go back to your building program sheet, and what we're asking for tonight, which is in this kind of the middle section, if you'll look at, we have the plans, part of the site preparation done on Rocky Fork Elementary, and that would be $36,438,227, but you've already funded $3.68 million of that. So we would like to see that funded so that we can go ahead and start on that. And that again goes back to, if you take a look at Cedar Grove this year, for example, is one of the closed schools. It's grown by 92 students, 9.1%. They've got students everywhere there. When you look at some of the ones David Urey there, they haven't grown quite as much as 1.7, but that's an area. We haven't built a new elementary school. We did build a new two-story to replace John Coleman, but you haven't built a new elementary school since Brown's Chapel Elementary. So we're trying to get out in front of this and the growth, because Smyrna Primary again, we talked about this before. Look at Smyrna Primary down there again, 9.7% for them. So there's a cluster around there, around Rocky Fork, with the kind of the Stewart's Creek, David Urey, Cedar Grove, and that we really do think we need to go on. While we have a pretty good firm price, and Mr. Clardy's better than I am on this, but we're seeing 3 to 4% increase per year in cost of construction. So we really think it's a time we need to go ahead and proceed with that. Did have a second request. We'd like to tie two together, and that's Rock Springs Elementary in addition. That one would be in Laverne. Remember, that whole farm in front of them has been sold for development. And if you look at their growth again, Rock Springs Elementary, trying to find it here.
February 26th.
The number that they have there, he has students everywhere also. Rock Springs Elementary now has 1,024 students. That's really a large elementary school. It was designed more for 800, 850. So what we propose there would be is two-story addition, right? We're talking about adding there. You ask us to try to keep from building another building if we can, to try to do additions and all. And so this would be an addition to that building. I mentioned last time, the other thing that concerns me, of course, is the new apartment complexes that's being built on 4170 right up from Roy Waldron. And you did build a two-story addition to Roy Waldron. But Laverne Lake there on that side also, if you look at that one again, Laverne Lake is still very large also. It's got 1,006 students in that elementary school. So really not land to add to Laverne Lake. I don't think that's going to be an option for us. In fact, we can't hardly put portables there. So we'd like to proceed with the design and the building of Rock Springs Elementary. So we're not ready to bring property to you yet. We did do, we talked last time that we did do some advertising for that, and I think I saw the spreadsheet, 28 pieces of property that people submitted, or sometimes it was real estate people, 28 separate pieces of property. We asked for something southeast of Bucksboro and 231 north area, so they're in that. We do have a few other pieces of property that have come to us other ways rather than that process. But Mr. Clardy he came to my office today and said, I need a break. I've been looking at floodplains and locations and all for a while this morning. But we've got to do some more research there. And you know, location in the real estate business is certainly critical to us, because if you do not put the school where the students will be or coming to, you're going to transport them for 40, 50 years by bus. And then also, if we have the road capacity without having to add so much, that's critical to us. then also typically we need the gas and the water and sewer, or at least the land that will let us take care of that sewer. So that's the kind of things Mr. Carty, his staff, and our planner Shane Morgan is doing right now, is looking at this to try to see what we can do. So got some things down your way, Ms. Cook, this time we'll bring it tonight, at least whatever.
Well, driving through this city to see the land that they have cleared and more condos going in is mind-boggling.
It is. Cleared another strip off. Another one.
They're next to the road.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, that's what we were seeking, is funding for those two projects again. Rocky Fork Elementary, well, we got a good firm price and designs and everything. And to start the process on Ruck Springs Elementary, we've done some concept drawings in there, but we have not completed design on that yet for that addition. But again, remember we told you pretty much everything's going to a two-story now. Again, with less footprint, less roof area, and that sort of thing, to try to build more cheaply. Questions, I guess.
So right now, your priorities are build Rocky Fork Elementary on land that you have,
I'd be next to
with the
Rocky
design
Fork
that you
Middle.
have, and then do the design work for Rock Springs.
And we'd like funding to go on through with it if we can in this one. What design cost, 360, 70,
50, I think.
50, something like that, yeah. Yeah, I see.
But we don't have any firm costs on that. That's just estimates based on what we've been getting.
We actually added from when we did, of course we come back every year with a new thing. So our original estimates, we've learned from Rockvale High School higher. In fact, that's where we use a lot of our ending fund balance. And then adding, we're starting the project really within the last 2 weeks out at Oakland Middle School. We had to go back and add to both of those. So hopefully Mr. Clardy has tried to sharpen his pencil a little more and increase the numbers here. But like I say, 3 to 4% a year, maybe a little more in Rutherford County.
Plus, anytime we build in the city, it costs us a lot more.
And there is one minor change on this from the last one you saw. There was under Oakland Middle, there was a footnote about there was a budget amendment in process. The commission has approved that, so I changed. That amended budget is now showing here. Whereas it was just a footnote on the previous edition.
Why does the city cost more?
Because of the restrictions and things that they place on us. For instance, Smyrna, normally we just contribute to maybe some off-site roads in the area and settle on an amount up front with them, and they don't charge us any impact fees, any building permits, and they also stay out of our business while we're trying to build. And so take Rocky Fork Middle, for instance. We are giving them $100,000 for some off-site road improvements there within the area, and we built that. Where, as a matter of fact, we're amending money out of it now at these upcoming meetings.
Was it a fire station there too, some land for a fire station?
Yeah, we gave them a little 3/4 of an acre of
Station
land.
6, 4 acres of land, I think.
Was it 4 acres? I thought it
We were
was.
talking about on Morton, where they built the fire station.
No, this would be at the Rocky Fork.
Rocky Fork is just a
They
little,
would like
To build another fire station.
yes.
it's just a little corner piece up there between the driveway and the
It's
property
really not
line.
usable for anything else.
So, every time we turn around at the city level, we end up spending another $100,000 here and $100,000 there, and then before you know it, we've got $1 million in the project that we hadn't planned on.
And the part of the road that the city's working on, it's the extension of Enid Springs. It's gonna be the second access point. Is that what you're talking about on the road?
No, we're basically, they're going to widen Rocky
Okay, that's what I was
Fork
getting
down
at.
through there.
Okay.
Plus, they've got some tie-ins of 3 different streets that are coming into the
Okay,
school streets from the subdivision.
okay. Because I knew they were coming in from Enid Springs from that direction and gonna tie into the property. And that was my question was,
Yeah.
where's our conversation at on improving Rocky Fork if we're gonna add this much more traffic to it? Because a road with no shoulders, is not desirable for buses.
Yeah, they've got all of those in plan.
Okay.
And so we will be contributing our part of that after the next board meeting.
Will we need to give them any more than 100,000, or did that include both schools?
That is for the middle school,
Okay.
so,
Your meaning contribution, you think, for the
well, I
elementary?
don't know yet. I'll have to talk to them when they get ready to build. There's a possibility that it won't.
Okay. But the deal up front was just for the one school?
Yes.
You also had on the plan, the building plan, in the same time frame was an elementary school on the south side of Murfreesboro. You're not pursuing that
And
right
we
now?
do not have that property yet. We'll probably come back with you when we can select some property, lots of very wide price range in some of these offerings in property, because many of them submittals, they did submit a price.
Okay.
Didn't come in quite as high as I thought in several of those.
No, I didn't, but some of them are
Just can't use.
inaccessible and the major utilities are not there close. And so we just have to find out when we're looking at those where the break-even price is
Right.
on getting all the utilities there or the price, higher price for the property.
Right.
So it's a pretty good task going through all of those pieces, and you can rule some of them out pretty quickly, but some of them you have to take a really close look at. So when you got 15 or 20 pieces of property, it gets pretty tedious.
Okay. What other questions do y'all have?
If I'm looking at this right, you're wanting to open 3 schools, beginning of the school year in 19, next year.
It wouldn't be new schools, you would be Rockvale High, which we're gonna put $5 million in, for startup costs. It would be the Rocky Fork Elementary there. The Rock Springs is an addition to an existing building. It may not likely to even be finished by, it couldn't be.
What's the elementary school that we were just talking about? Looks like that's a new school.
Right. Now, Rock Springs is...
No, elementary, south side.
Right,
of-
and,
Right,
yeah.
that's not gonna happen.
We haven't included that because we're lacking the
Yeah.
property for
We haven't
that.
purchased the property
Yeah.
yet.
Does that $38 million go to the bottom line? Is it on the bottom line?
And probably shifted a year down, more likely, depending on how the growth materializes.
You're talking about a 434 million?
Yes.
It's in there, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But right here you have it listed at 19, and now you're telling me you don't want it at 19.
So we need to take the 38,355,000 off from the 158 million, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's going to bring it down roughly 120 million, is what we're looking at.
Yeah, if you buy the land too right now. We didn't specifically bring that to you tonight.
Yeah.
We are
We
going
can
to
look
Well,
at
minus
need
actually, so
money
we're
for that
looking at probably
property, but we don't know
115,000 or so.
what it is yet.
117.
Well,
We
you're
don't know
actually
what the
looking at that
property is.
36,438 and the 9,150.
This 231 North, 2 schools, what general area? I mean, 231 North, how far north, how far out of the
Well,
Walter
On the other
Hill?
side of the river,
Along the river?
on the other side.
On the other
somewhere,
side of the
yeah.
river.
It's Siegel Middle, and I didn't point that out because we were talking, they're 1,184 students already there, grown 5.4%. And last time I kind of described to you, we talked about adding there, not that we totally couldn't, but it's got those winged additions, it's not a T. So it's not easy at all. After Mr. Clardy came, he changed the design of the middle school back to the T, where you can add on to them easily. But one of the last ones we built during that time was that if you look at Siegel Middle, you have those wings that basically slant out, so you really can't build between the wings very easily. Very difficult there. So as I think I said last time, maybe at Health and Ed, at some point, there's already portables at Siegel. Are you better off to go out and build another building, even if you do not build it for 1,000, say you build it for 500 or 600 and add room to add on to it, are you better to do that than build a wing on a building like Siegel that when you empty the portables out, you're virtually going to fill the wing up and not have additional capacity? So there comes a point where building the other school can take care of you 8 or 10 years, whereas adding a wing, if you already got a lot of portables there, is not. So we try to look at both factors.
Mr. Phillips, I'd just like to respond to your question. We've been searching for property for that elementary school on the south side, and we've looked at several pieces out there where we think it should go, but we haven't been able to find anything satisfactory. So when this new group of prices and pieces of property that came in, there's some pieces in there, but we've got to do our due diligence. And we just don't feel like that we can get that done, get the property purchased, and then get the building built by next year to open it.
I didn't see how that was possible either, but it's on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we were looking at this back in October,
Right.
we were looking at something like this.
Yeah.
I will say another thing too, the city is now beginning to look at something off of Veterans in somewhere on that south side also. So that could play into our recommendation to you or your decision, if they do it. You know, I certainly don't have an insight in there, but I do know from their sources that they are looking in that area.
So what you're asking for us tonight is one additional school, and that is?
And the addition to Rock Springs Elementary, the 9.
We're looking for Rocky Fork Elementary, which is on the side of Rocky Fork Road up there at the middle school, which we have the property for. And we're looking for an addition on Rock Springs Elementary, which is out on the west side of Laverne over there.
Okay. So you're asking for one additional school to open in 19. As I've told you before, I'm probably going to be a lot more open-minded about additions than I am building new schools. My check marks here say this is your 5-year plan and you got 10 new schools, which is 2 new schools a year. 2 new schools a year. And simple math, and I'm going to be off a few $1 million. But simple math is of the $434 million, 406 is going to be for new schools. Not additions, but new schools. So in the next 5 years, we're going to be spending a little over $400 million for new schools. We have any idea where that money's coming from?
No.
You know, this is my 6th year. And when I came, that's one of the things y'all told me. And I think if you look historically back, I've done a lot of adding on. I've done that. We're getting in some cases now where we cannot, where I'm at the point where to add on is not logical if you're looking at 8 or 10 years. That you just got to go out. I am all for, in cases like the middle school, maybe instead of building it for 1,200, so we go 231 North, and maybe you leave a wing off, or you build it to start at 600 to 700, but then you have the opportunity, whomever's here then, can then add that wing. A process of doing that.
I have a question, and it may ruffle some feathers with some people, but I'm good at that. How does Murfreesboro having a separate school system complicate the planning? Because I think as overall the region, we need to be looking at that question. How does that complicate the planning in us building and deciding where to build and what to build? And you're leaving right now, so you can be honest.
Well, you know, Blackman Elementary was in the county once upon a time. Barfield Elementary was in the county once upon a time, but it was
Where I
not-
live was in the county
I
once
know.
upon a time.
I know.
It's now Stark Creek
Of course,
campus, you know.
You know, the big change now that with the state law, they can't just annex necessarily what's already there. So it's really new developments. in all
But
areas.
until somebody actually enforces that, they're pretty much doing that. And they're still doing the piecemeal and the string annexation. So you're going out here and leaping 3 miles beyond where the city limit is right now. And so, to me, it makes it difficult to plan. I mean, I come from an engineering background, and I would hate, you know, I spent 12 years designing cell systems, and part of that was, you know, was looking at return on investment, looking ahead 2 years, a year, 3 years. Where are the people going to be? Where can we go ahead and build a cell tower that we're going to make money off of? In this case, we're not looking to make money, we're looking to educate kids. But where can we do it and do it most efficiently and effectively at the least cost for the company? And to me, it just really and truly complicates things or would seem to complicate things when you've got a pocket of people out here for this up to this grade, and they're not running a whole school system, they're just running part of a school system. And I just want to get people out there in the TV land thinking, because this is something, to me, besides duplication of administration, et cetera, and so on, that it really complicates the planning process when you don't know where, because, you know, the city annexes out here, here comes a developer, buys up 200-acre farm, and then builds 1,000 houses on it, or builds 2,000 apartments on it. That's a whole school, and almost, and yet, you know, are they going to, it just, that's just a question that I'm throwing out there and getting, hopefully the public that watches this program to think about, because I think it's time, really and truly, that we need to think about that issue and for the citizens of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. And I don't think it's a matter of one system better than the other. I think, you know, both of them are great systems. They're just two separate systems, and
They have about 2,000 students per grade who receive half of their sixth graders come to our middle school. And it's a nice draw because you got bands and athletics and stuff. And I understand why parents do that. And then the other 1,000 pretty much will come at the seventh grade. So you can see that stair step when I didn't bring you tonight, but I could give you a grade back down. It's very clear. Our total enrollment at fifth, and you see 1,000 and something more at sixth, and then another 1,000 and something at seventh.
That is one of our big what if that we talk about.
that's what I'm saying. It's a big what if. That's the reason I'm
But
saying.
what
Is it
if-
a what if? And you're saying it is a what if.
What if all of a sudden they decided to give us the rest of their sixth graders?
Please no.
We'd have a nightmare on our end.
Not at one time.
You know, and you know, y'all come to us and say, well, they're thinking about building a school system, a school out here, K through 6, but we don't know whether they're going to build it out here or not. And can we wait? And then we wind up duplicating.
We have the legal responsibility. We are the default.
Right. I know that.
Yeah, so,
And-
yeah, but I think the city has worked with us.
They have
In there.
long-range plans for
Yeah.
both ends of really Veterans Boulevard to the north side, which is near the Parks Development, 750 homes. And they have some also that they're looking on the south side with some that they're doing. It's just the last I heard, they were leaning a little bit more towards looking at the south side. But again, I do not have that inside information. But I don't think they print out a 5-year plan.
If they don't build something out there, Browns Chapel's going to be real full, right?
Amen. And we cannot add to that one very much.
Cannot add to it. There's not room to add to it. Yeah.
What is Brown Chapel's capacity?
They're not full yet. There was about 8 to 850, kind of what we do for elementaries, and then they
There's
have pretty
700
much
right now.
everything for it.
It's got
Could you matter, shouldn't that
700.
influence
Yeah, it's be hard.
Oh, I know we will work, but we have.
Rock Springs? couldn't that
But they're building
influence
houses
that?
right next to there.
The availability of seats at this school?
Yeah, Brown's Chapel. See, I've had that circle just like, it looks like
That's where I'm at right
Yeah, I
now, that's
think
what I've got.
that
that's,
guy.
yeah, and that's why we didn't say build another elementary right there this time. We were looking at the next one. We got, the problem is at Christiana Elementary, and the Barfield and all, when you look at their numbers, yeah, that's where we're having trouble. Rockvale Elementary is one of the fastest growing we've got.
And
The
it's-
whole south side is
Yeah.
growing.
That's what I was looking at right here. You're talking about Christiana. We just approved, I think, 150 more houses out there, another development out there, which you're looking at, that's going to make that about 500 houses there. I think it's getting ready to come available here before long. And they're basically across the road from Christiana Elementary. That's where they are. They're right off of Walnut Grove, Highway 269, right there, 231. So that is right there, and
And
those,
up near the rock quarry too.
and those homes are going to be priced for young families. That's what those homes are going to be. You're talking about Rockvale Elementary, the high school gets there. I was in my office the other day, which is a table at Subway there in Rockvale, and I was watching a truck out there in that field right in front of that Subway, which the city has annexed. They're looking to build in there, and they're talking about 100 houses in there, right there by that school. So,
But here's, and again, not showing on this sheet, but we've had this conversation too. The sewer with the high school there, we hit that in. We were talking about at the same time, going ahead and running the sewer from the Rockville Elementary across to tie to it so we can deal with it. There is some land capacity at Rockville Elementary to add to that if we can solve this sewer piece.
Get those,
So if
yeah.
that happens, we may be able to do the addition again there.
at the Rock Springs, where we're doing this addition, is that to take care of some portables? And
He has, I mean, he didn't have too many yet.
He doesn't have too many, he doesn't have as many as he wants.
No. I mean, they just put kids everywhere.
There's a lot of houses being built, that whole, off Montgomery Way and so on, that whole area through there has been built. Just house after house after house, in through there, and of course, I think in behind, which will be closer over on Rock Springs, but in behind Rocky Fork Middle, I believe Smyrna approved a pretty large subdivision in there. That's, I think, is what's going to connect the road through there. Eventually, there'll be a road that runs between Rock Springs and Rocky Fork, I think, through there.
Yeah, that's right.
So out our way, they're building houses. They're not just clearing land. They're building houses about as fast as they can.
So the Rocky Fork Elementary, which schools are you going to draw from for that?
We'll rezone almost all that. It could come from Stewart's Creek to hold off a little bit there because we don't have everything ready. We'd come from Cedar Grove, obviously. Would then pull also from the David Urey area. Stewartsboro really doesn't come that far over. We just have to kind of look at it and see that particular thing.
And then what the addition at Rock Springs Elementary, is that really more for existing need or that's for anticipated capacity because of the development?
A lot of it is anticipated capacity because of that farm across from the district.
The farm you're talking about, I think, is the Gwynn farm.
It was. Dr. Pewitt, that used to be our principal, at Roy Waldron, that was her parents' farm. That whole thing is
Yeah, the Rock Springs Elementary, right? Yeah, that farm. Yeah, that's been so they're building on that too already.
right.
So do you think we have time to wait on the Rock Springs Elementary addition? If we're building it for anticipated capacity that's not there?
Well, yes.
Because you said it's not going to be open by 19 anyway, right?
With 1,024 students already there, we're going to have to put some portables to do something. I mean, we won't.
When we do,
If those houses start finishing across the road from it, I mean, we'll have to make a move before you get a school, anything's built there. I mean,
We still got a window of a couple months to get the design done and put it out to bid. We could still make it by next year because it's a relatively small job. There's not anything that we really have to do to the infrastructure. It's mainly just classrooms.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood that, because I thought I heard y'all say we didn't think we would have that addition ready by 19. But you think we've got a couple
I
of months
think
and
we
still have
can.
it
I
ready by 19?
didn't say that. I heard it
it's
said.
very similar to John Coleman. We're not under pressure to have it done on the start of school day, because you're taking kids that's in the existing building and unpacking those other areas they've used in the building, all their labs and stuff like that, and moving them into that wing. So you can pull those off. The problem is when you're trying to start in August and you don't really want to move kids between August and December.
Right.
And if worse came to worse, we could do some rezoning and shift. If you get Rocky Fork Elementary built, ready to open in August of 19, then you could do it.
You can some, but when you look at the density map, there's some subdivisions up there,
Right.
they're really there at Rock Springs.
Right.
So, I mean, you can bus them. I mean, that's your cost.
Well, that's y'all's job, and y'all do a commendable job in chasing zoning constantly. I know you're looking at where subdivision plats are being approved, and I thank you for letting us rehash what y'all have probably been covering at every meeting you have. So we have to trust that y'all are doing your part to present to us a vetted strategy. So we're back to the question of $32 million, and then an additional 350 or 9 million if we would be so generous, right?
Right.
And we're back to the question, so y'all have done y'all's job well. We trust that you're transparent, actually. Where the heck are we gonna get the money?
Lisa, I see your intent back there, probably more intent than anybody in this room. Have you put together any projections that relate to?
You know, I did previously when we were talking and showing borrowing 90 million every year for the next 4 years, and what did that look like, and it looked ugly. In, I think it was 1920. You know, not 1819, but 1920 was going to be ugly when everything hit, because we would probably not borrow this until the fall of next year. We'd have a little bit of interest payment if we did do that, and then the full payment will hit the next year. So, like I said, I had budgeted just pro forma at 90 million. Well, this is not 90 million, so might help a little.
So what is the, and that may be the overview that we need is, if we, again, we trust, we're collaborating with the school board, we trust their diligent endeavors. That's done. 90 million a year is reality, if this is true. Give or take.
Yeah.
So how can we attack that? That's the question for us. They've done their work, we're ready to go. They're ready to go.
Okay, so when I say you're gonna have some pain in a few years, that means you're gonna have to come up with revenue to go in and pay for this debt. There's no magic. The only thing we have at our disposal right now is the property tax.
And
And is that leaving the property, your pain in 1920 is based on a pro forma with the property tax rate staying at
Stay the same.
its current rate?
And it also kind of stays the same with what this commission does in the reappraisal.
That's what I was going to
Assuming we level set it, whatever that's called, certified.
The certified rate.
You're assuming we level it. Net no
Getting
change.
the certified rate means that it rolls by. It rolls
Correct.
to where really the county has no additional money. And the way I handled that is I was, with all that in mind, is that we still have about a 3% growth, 3 or 4% growth
In revenue?
than revenue. Mixture of new stuff coming in and what. So if you want to see that, I can definitely bring back
So what,
next month
so we
too.
will really have a better look once the appropriate appraisal gets done in 2018 and see what the actual value of all this property that's been built and developed over the last 10-year period. We'll have a better look at how that, yeah, we're supposed to stay revenue neutral, but if we come back, what that means is if there's significant growth, which I think it's pretty obvious there has been in value, if you go on Zillow and look even and just take it with a little bit of belief in what it is, then we will actually roll back the tax rate
Right, to get the same revenue.
to get the same revenue, which then,
Doesn't address growth.
yeah, it doesn't advance growth, but we have some leeway to not go beyond where we're at in terms of tax rate with, as the needs arise. So, and I think, and of course the big factor is what will the economy do in a couple of years. That is,
What the economy does, and then on top of that 1920 year, when you're opening Rockville High plus an elementary school, and you have the operating, you got to have the operating cost that's going to happen too. You know, right now you're just talking about the debt side of it.
right. Really and truly,
Operating is another
We
issue.
almost, I dare say, that maybe we almost have to do this if what you're presenting is trustworthy and accurate.
When you're looking at 1,000+ students per year,
I've seen those numbers stay at 2.4% in my years.
yeah, but the base number is higher.
Correct, I agree, I concur.
we also have another thing we have happening in 2020 is the census.
Yes.
So there's a lot of fluidity here. We have reappraisal in 18, then we have the census in 2020. So it's going to be,
Census going on.
Could those mitigate?
that's just Laverne and Murfreesboro.
The cities gain, whenever there's a census, the cities really gain more revenue
Our state
than
share doesn't
counties do.
necessarily increase if our population.
And our local share of the BEP could go up. But that will tend to be maybe the 3-4 years out. Yeah,
So, just making an assumption, if we did hypothetically have a vote and that vote was yes, then we're voting for a tax increase.
Let me roll back.
With some,
It's
an
not,
intelligent person might suggest that if we vote yes and we anticipate $90 million in expenditures, we're probably going to have a tax increase.
you know, logically, you cannot say, we're going to borrow $400 million and not have to have a tax increase. That's just not reasonable.
That was my comment.
Yeah.
You softened it, thank you. That was my intent.
But now, when does the pain hit is the question, you know. You approve this, I'm not going to be saying we need money in debt service for 18-19, you know, on the budget that we're preparing for debt service.
$90 million a year is going to be a burden on the
90 million a year, you just can't, we are not paying our,
income and expenditure.
it's really no different from your home. You can't, like, you're paying your mortgages off, but you're keeping more debt coming. You can't, it's with the same amount of take-home money from your job, you're gonna have to find another job to add on.
If you want to pay it down.
Williamson's opening 3 schools next year, talking about startup costs.
Lisa, how much is 1 cent equal to?
I don't have the new numbers, but it's like $681,000 is what we're budgeting for the current year we're in.
Where are you, Jeff? Where are your thoughts
like
at this
5
juncture?
cents.
5 something, yeah.
What I'd like to know, we've got a clear picture of what your needs and wants are, but I don't have a clear picture of what our financial obligation is. Is it possible, Lisa, that you can give us the scenario of what each of these different years would look like from a financial perspective?
If you take a 5-minute break or so, let me go get my computer, hook it up, and I can show you. I mean, it's just kind of what we've been working with and the assumptions we've been working under for the last.
Well, we actually have one more thing on the agenda. I had invited Tyra Pilgrim and Mr. Spurlock to come talk to us about the career and technical education. So if y'all will allow them to come talk to us and do their presentation, let Lisa go run the numbers, then we can have a more meaningful conversation.
Hopefully I'll find my phone, look, I'm talking to you. I can do it.
And I would say, and this is the good thing, career and technical education, I'll tell you something up front, not steal your show. I really think Rutherford County has the best career and technical education state in Tennessee and one of the best in the nation. They come from other states to come and look at our program. Hawaii, I think, has been the farthest away, and see that U.S. Secretary of Education has not visited many public schools. Lamar Alexander suggested when she came down to speak in Nashville, you ought to go by Rutherford County and look at what they're doing at the mechatronics program and some of the health science program. So 15 pathways you're going to hear about tonight aligned to what business and industry says they want in Rutherford County. It's the right things to do about kids, and we're doing a really good job of it.
That's a great introduction.
Stay another year, would you?
Thank you.
You're quivering here.
I had the opportunity to get to know Tyra through my work as part of Rutherford Works, which is a relationship that she has with the chamber. And what they're doing basically is trying to prepare our students for workforce development. And so that's going to include all kinds of technical training and, post-secondary education. And so there's a lot of work that's being done in our high schools right now beyond just dual enrollment and college credit. And it's really exciting. And so I wanted to let her come inform us a little bit more about that in a little more detail. So I think it's great work we're doing.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. As she said, my name is Tyra Pilgrim, and I'm the CTE coordinator for Rutherford County Schools. And I taught marketing and business before that, and I love CTE, and it's been my life. So any chance I get to talk about it, I will definitely take them up on it. So what is career and technical education? I know some of you might remember it being called vocational education. It has morphed through the years to where it is now career and technical education. And so what it does is it prepares our students for college and career. And so it works with our academic courses. It's rigorous content, it's relevant curriculum. And so what we do is our students come out with industry certifications. They are better prepared for the high wage, high skill, high demand jobs that are right here in Rutherford County. And so if we can help provide the workforce of students that will stay here, that will make, that will help all of our economic woes be a little bit lighter. We have programs in our high school. We are also working with our post-secondary partners and then our industry partnerships. And Mr. Spurlock will talk a little bit about that in just a second. Your next page in your handout, and it's up on the screen, these are the 15 programs of study pathways that we have here in Rutherford County. And it's a government, U.S. Department of Education mandate, and they work with the workforce development. And so they have deemed these 16 pathways as what we should focus on. And so Tennessee State Department of Education said, yes, we are going to take that charge. And so of the 16, we have 15. We have a class in the 16th pathway, but we don't have all of it, so I can't claim that we have all 16. Working on it. But you will see we have advanced manufacturing, agriculture, architecture and construction, arts, audiovisual, business management, education and training, finance, health science, hospitality and tourism, human services, information technology, law, public safety, marketing, transportation, distribution and logistics, and STEM. And so those programs will help our students when they graduate from high school be a better, successful, in their lives.
Tell them the 5 that the chamber has picked out that's most important to them.
Yes, our High Five, as we are calling them, is our construction program, our manufacturing mechatronics program, health science, information technology, and supply chain management, which is part of marketing. And so I'm going to talk about those in just a second as well.
Supply chain is not part of logistics.
Well,
Okay,
so...
don't get me off your...
Okay, hold on. I'll get to that in just a second. One thing that we have done and what we have seen over the past 4 years, I've been in this position almost 4 years, it's crazy, is that it takes industry, education, and post-secondary all to be at the table in order for this to work. And so the Assistant Commissioner of Education recognized what we were doing for the Tennessee Department of Education and said, hey, why don't you guys become a Pathways partner? And so that meant that the Harvard Law or Business College came and did an asset mapping for us, and they found that in our county that the 5 programs of study that we're going to talk about in just a second are where we would have jobs in our county in the future. And so as part of this, our vision is where passion meets opportunity. Because if you have the right people at the table, amazing things can happen.
And talk about that for a second, because that was one of the things that I guess I knew the least about and I was the most surprised by. I had an opportunity to sit in on some of the different group meetings, construction, healthcare, there's one other I haven't made it to IT. But I was so amazed at the business partnerships that have already been formed that were sitting around the table volunteering their time to participate in this conversation. In my head, I thought it was so much smaller than it was, and so that's part of why I wanted to share it with you all, because I was really caught off guard by how far down the road you are, and I knew so little about it.
Well, so we have our industry councils, like what Commissioner Allen was talking about, and we meet once a month. And so sometimes I think IT is the first Wednesday of the month, and then we have construction. We meet one time a month with our industry partners that help us know and make sure that what we are teaching in our classes is what they need for their workers, because there's got to be that connection. Because if we're not teaching them what our industry partners need, then they still won't be able to find a job. And so the Tennessee Department of Education has been very open to allowing us to look at the curriculum. And our CTE curriculum, I promise, changes just about every year. You can ask my teachers. But it's because the industry is driving it. And so we have, I hate to mention any because I know I'm going to forget all the partners that we have, but we have Nissan, Schneider Electric, we have Schwann Cosmetics, we have Bridgestone,
NHC,
Stonecrest, St. Thomas,
MTSU's at the table.
MTSU, Motlow. I mean, we have all of these people. You are welcome to come if you would like, just to see what it is about, because it's having that connection and the industry buy-in that, as good-hearted as I am, and I am all for CTE, whenever we have Nissan behind us, or Bridgestone, or all of these companies, and it's not just the big ones either, we have all variety of sizes of companies that are involved in this, that puts a lot of weight behind what we're doing.
And Linda Gilbert was there.
Yes,
she's on the...
Dr. Gilbert with Murfreesboro City Schools, yeah. She comes as well. So it is really taking it from K-12, and we say it's K-16 or K-J, which is the, kindergarten to a job. So that's kind of the little mantra that we have talked about. But, we want to meet the Governor's Drive to 55 initiative. And so this part of this Pathways Rutherford is how we are going to get there. So Some of the things that we do with our Rutherford Works, which is it's part of the Chamber of Commerce, Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, we have our 8th grade career pathway fairs. And so what that means is we take our teachers, our CTE teachers, a high school student, which what is cooler to a middle schooler than a high school student, and then we take our industry partner. And so we have gone into all of our middle schools, and we give, it's 4 30-minute focused sessions on what does it mean to be in health science? Do I have to touch blood? Do I, all of the different things that, of course the kids are like, oh, what's the salary and what's all these questions? But the industry partner, the teacher, and the high school student all work together to give a presentation. And what it meant is after we did it last year for the first time in all of the schools, we had to hire 8 CTE positions because the students knew what they wanted to do. And so my teachers that have freshmen this year have said that it's a different focus because they know that they want to be there. And so it is a very exciting time to be in CTE, but we have our 8th grade career pathway fairs. We also, on April the 10th, have our senior hiring event, and it is at Blackman High School. It is not a job fair. It is a hiring event. So there will be seniors that come that day, dressed for success with a resume in hand, and they will receive jobs that day. We're working with the Jobs for TN and the economic workforce. We're working with all of those partners to help us get the employers online, so it's working with industry and making that happen. Again, we've talked about our Rutherford Works Industry Councils, so it's the Construction Workforce Council, Health Science, the Tech Workforce Council, Supply Chain Management, and Manufacturing. And so the supply chain used to be in the Transportation, Distribution, and Logistics cluster. The State Department has chosen to move it into marketing because part of marketing also talks about taking a product from its raw materials all the way to, the consumer, and so that is a nice tie-in as well. So the state moved it to the marketing, and so it's kind of in both because there's still transportation and there's still logistics in that, but then it's in marketing as well. And then the seamless pathway, and what that means, and I'm going to let Mr. Spurlock talk for just a second, is taking it from K-12, sorry I keep saying that, K-12 all the way to a job. And so if we can get our students industry certification, a post-secondary something, a certificate, a tech school, a 2-year, 4-year, it will only make things better for them. So.
Right, that was a lot, wasn't it? Good evening. I know I hate to take you away from your budget talks and debt and things like that, but I'm going to kind of thank you, first of all, having us here. Anytime I can talk about young people doing great things, I'm going to be the first one at the meeting. But anyway, we have a mechatronics program at Oakland High School. We originally started in 2012, and we were actually off campus. We were very fortunate we partnered with Bridgestone, who allowed us to take students down to Bridgestone and get trained. And then in the fall of 2013, we actually brought the program to our campus, and we were very blessed that we had the cooperation with our school board and obviously through your help with the budget and things of that nature to provide us what we needed as far as equipment, and also with some of the grant money we get from Carl Perkins, the federal grant money. And what the mechatronics program is it is a skill set that involves electronics, pneumatics, robotics, and mechanical skill set. And what we offer at Oakland High School is a dual enrollment program. In our dual enrollment program, the students will take, and I'll start with that first part we see, digital electronics. They take that their sophomore year. That is not dual enrollment. But from that point forward, they take Mechatronics 1 electrical components, Mechatronics 1 mechanical components, and Introduction to Engineering. And then all these courses, not only do they get dual enrollment credit for it, but it's also articulation with both Motlow and Middle Tennessee State University. And in their senior year, they take Mech 2 fluid power, Mech 2 programming, and then we were very fortunate that our instructor is also a math teacher, has a background not only in industry but math teacher. So they also get pre-cal and calculus 1, which equals 29 credit hours, college credit hours. Now, Most of our students, in addition to that, they're in this program, also take an English course through dual enrollment, and they end up they graduate with a sophomore level as far as credits are concerned. And it's worked very well. On the next page, you will see some of the awards that we've achieved, our schools achieved with the mechatronics program in the last couple of years. First of all, in 2017, we won the Advanced CTE Award of Excellence, and I think Ms. Pilgrim and one of my staff members went to Washington and received the award. And then in 2018, we were winner of the Tennessee Board Association Award of Excellence. In some of the demographics, as you can see down here, because you want to always look at, I'm a pragmatic type of person. You want to look and see what's working and continue to improve or, change. 100% of our students that are in the mechatronics program graduate from high school. 94% of them go on and are enrolled in post-secondary education. Of those 94% that are in our school that end up with those 29 hours, they will take a test called a Siemens test. It's a nationally renowned test, and if they pass it, they'll get a level 1 certification. They can leave our high school and be able to make a good living no matter where they travel in the world with that certification. However, we had 94% of our students, after we've been through this program in 2012, 94% earned that certification. That's higher than any other Motlos, even the adults. That's higher than theirs. Of the 100 of those who go through, 100% of the juniors and seniors will earn post-secondary credit in addition to what they get in the class, the MEC classes. And what you see above there is kind of like a demographic breakdown in terms of our students, those that go on post-secondary and those that are currently in our school. And Ms. Pilgrim talked about internships. We have a tremendous internship with Schwann. We're working with other ones. We also have one with the Davis Group where they're doing stuff off at night, working with them. And our next step is we want to increase the program. We currently serve somewhere around 80-something students. We want to increase that amount, and at the same time create more internships. This is a program that, like I said, we've answered the need of what industry is saying they need, and this is also given students, quite frankly, females, for example. We have one female that is getting ready to graduate from Middle Tennessee State University with her level 2 certification. She has interned over in Germany during her time at MTSU, and there are many people lined up to hire her currently. And we had her speak to the Secretary of Education. We've had her speak to numerous people who come in. One of the questions they asked her about, how did you get in? She said, I really didn't know I had this kind of an interest until, I was exposed to it. And it's been very successful for us.
And there's 3 levels. Can you also get
Yes,
level 3 at MTSU? Or?
You can get a level, MTSU, you can get the level 2 and 3. Right, that's correct. And you get the level 2 at Motlo.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was a natural progression.
Right, it's a progression.
Programs build on each other.
Right.
So, and what that means, of course, with the additional knowledge means additional money. That paycheck goes up with that additional certification.
Significantly.
And then, I may be saying this wrong, but Beth Duffield was telling me, I guess, is MTSU one of the only places in North America where you can get that certification?
That's correct.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Isn't that phenomenal?
It is.
That's phenomenal. I love that.
One quick question. Percentages look real good. 100%. 100% anything's good.
Right.
What's the number there? The actual number? 100% graduating.
All right, that would be like, we're talking about from 20, are we talking about each year? So you're talking about.
That number says.
Yeah, that number
100%.
represents all of our students that have gone into our program and completed it since 2012. Every one of them graduated, and that number is somewhere around, you're talking about 24, so you're talking about 72, 80, somewhere 72 to 80.
They've got 130 in this other graph. There's 40 post-ed and 90 students.
Right.
So you're doing about 24 a year or something like that?
Right, something like that, right.
It sounds like
I think it's
definitely,
around that 130.
I know coming from a technology background and being an engineering supervisor, you know, it was hard to find people who had the knowledge. We got most of our people who'd already gotten out of the military,
Right.
you know, and they had that, they received that training there, right? So it would have been great if I'd have had a resource to pull from.
You know, one of the things that we're doing also on Tuesdays and Thursdays nights with the, with the board's backing, we're bringing some adults in from some of our some of our companies that we intern with. They're coming in and getting trained, getting trained by our instructor and working through Motlow. And, this is changing lives for some of these young adults that, perhaps are looking to increase their skill set. And that's kind of giving back to our community, hopefully building that tax base.
Can they get a level 1 through that?
They can, absolutely.
When you first started, I know you all had sponsors.
We did. Yeah.
I was at one of the meetings where you had sponsors for Bridgestone. And I thought that was very good. It helped a lot of adults
Yes, ma'am.
go through the megatronics.
Right, and we actually, we still have sponsors that do things for us, yes, ma'am. One of the things we're very fortunate with the Tennessee Promise, the classes, the four MEC classes that they take are free for the students. And each additional class means they're going to take $25. Now, that's a pretty good deal right there. You're getting a lot of banging for your buck.
Can either one of you talk about the teacher externships and how that fits into this?
Yes, so this summer we got a grant, and we are going to have 3 of our middle schools are going to compete against each other to get into the teacher externship program, to where they will work in, I think we have
These are teachers who will go.
Teachers, Nissan, Stonecrest, and I can't remember who the third one is, but our teachers will actually go there and, do rotations through the different aspects of the hospital and the information technology, that whole hospital administration side, and then Nissan, they'll go through their safety, and it's a really cool thing. They will get paid, so it's an externship with the grant dollars that we receive. They will get paid to be able to do that, but it's going to be 2-week, very intensive training, so then they can come back to their school and do a presentation. They're going to have to do lesson plans. They're going to have to do a presentation to their school to help other teachers want to do similar things, and then we'll have tours throughout the years that they would be able to do with those businesses as well.
And from what I understand too, also by sending them on these experiences and having them incorporated into their lesson plan, now they're actually speaking from firsthand knowledge to their students of this is exactly what an employer is going to be expecting from you or looking at you to do, expecting you to deliver. And so then by the time they have the 8th grade Pathways Fair and they get that more broader exposure, they're even more certain what path they want to take. But also, too, how meaningful for a teacher to know that you're teaching exactly what that student's going to want to know. Because how many times do we hear academia is not at a touch, it's not real world. This can't be more real world. I mean, it's a phenomenal partnership. I'm so proud of you all, the work you've done. I'm humbled to get to join on this late date.
It's terribly exciting. That career fairs, the 8th grade career fairs, what are you, 14 years old when you're in 8th grade? 14 or 13?
13, 14, yes.
How in the heck a 13-year-old know what a career path is? Are parents involved in that to any degree?
So what we do is it is a, it's not just that day that, oh, hey, we're going to a fair. There is a lot of prep work before the actual day that happens. And so we send home a paper that you saw on that one slide, what we have programs of study listed at what school. And so we have the students take that home, they go over that with their parents, the teacher goes through all the different programs of study. We have a career exploration class that some of our 8th grade middle schools have that class that they're doing as well. And so then the students have to sign up for the 4 that they are interested in. That's what we have right now, so that's what they're doing. And so then they get to go to the 4 different programs during that day. So they may go to health science, they may go to information technology, cosmetology, culinary, whatever they're interested in. And then it helps narrow it down. And the reason why I know this works so well is I was at a business, and the man that was there, he was like, hey, he said, I want to thank you for doing the 8th grade career pathway fair. And I was like, what? How do you know about our 8th grade career pathway fair? And he's like, well, my daughter is in the 8th grade. And she came home on Friday and said, Dad, I think I want to be a nurse. He said, there is no one in my family that is in the medical field. And he said, it was so refreshing to me that she came home and I didn't have to badger her about, well, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? She started the conversation. And so those little stories like that just, you know, keep us chugging along at, you know, trying to make it meaningful. So.
And too, I mean, when they come out of 8th grade and they're enrolling as a freshman, you ask them to choose a path. They have to choose college or career, and so they have to be ready to make that decision. There's not a lot of time there. They don't get to just go through and, you know, graduate like we did and figure it out later on. They have to figure it out early on these days.
Yeah. So, all right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the tax discussion if you like.
Make a break for it.
Yeah, make a break for it if you can.
I'd make a break now.
All right, Ms. Lisa, okay, any more you want to share
Well,
with us?
yeah, I'm waiting on upstairs to come in and do their magic.
Was the 681 accurate,
The penny.
Penny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't we get about
Lisa, you
570
wanna
about
come
the
over here?
city share?
No, this is
He may
fine.
need you to move over here where Joe is.
Lisa, don't we get about 570 though after the city share out of it?
Yeah.
Come on over, Lisa.
We don't get hooked
Oh,
up
you need me there. Okay, wait a minute. No, wait. No, you're fine.
because the city share part.
But
Hey, wait a minute. I'll
Just in
hook
K
me
through
up.
6.
Hold it. No.
Just in K through 6, right? So like this, Rock Springs Elementary.
We can all go down.
Oh, sorry,
Here, I got a
Rockport
chair.
Elementary.
I got a chair.
That
Oh, no.
amount right there,
16%
Yeah.
more we need.
Well, I'm gonna be right
so
here.
16% of that goes, and I'm not belittling that, okay? They've got kids to educate too. And, you know, they pay property taxes just like everybody else does, so I'm not belittling that, but I'm just trying my best to grasp this, and it just becomes overwhelming to me, you know, just overwhelming.
I'm trying to update something while he's got faster than I did. Okay. I'm telling you, I got to give you the background. Well, let me just ask you which way you want. You want the background, you just want the end of the story? The background is that, you know, how much is a penny worth? Our budget is $681,873. This is debt service. What is a penny worth to debt service? What I've tried to demonstrate here is this is all the years that we have budgeted, what our penny budget, this is what actually, once we close the year, what the penny did. And this is the growth. That's the growth of the penny, the actual penny. We budget, so that you know how we come up with the penny, the budget, is I take the assessments from the assessor where it is at the moment. Now, it will grow because they will continue to put on assessments, but I always budget what the assessments are at the time that we are adopting. And I budget only that we're going to get 95.5% as of June 30th. We can still collect projects, but this is just how we do this calculation. So last year, I'm telling you this so you just got to know what the components are so that you know what it is that you're looking at. So 16-17, we ended the calculation at $673,000, but we budgeted $653,000. Well, what happened that year is we budgeted at 95.5 collection, and it was like 98%. The trustee collected nearly 98% by the end of June 30th. That's why that number is like it is. So I just think this is interesting to see what happens on reappraisal on the value of the penny. Look at all these past years. In year of reappraisal, that penny grew like 16.5%, 21.7%. This 2010, bad year, 11.9, bad year, only 6.5. That's what actually happened. I just think that's interesting compared to those earlier years, you know, how much the penny grew. Okay, so this is telling you how many pennies of how many pennies are going into debt service, just so you know. All right, what do I have? Variables. That when we talk about in these assumptions, we have it, you know, that there is an assumption that the assessment values will increase. You know, a variable in our estimate is what will we ultimately be the rate of interest that we borrow at. What if we change our fund balance requirement? Change of pennies during a reappraisal, and there's always a change in the amount needed to fund projects. So those are the variables that happen in this little spreadsheet. This is the estimate of projected revenue. This is where you can start playing around with this thing. The per penny that is going across, you know, coming up with how much is revenue based on the penny. It's assuming that we're going to have a 3% from 17-18 to 18-19. I don't know what the number is because I don't have the assessments yet. But just assuming 3%. Our development tax, we budgeted 1.5 million. Y'all know that we've already hit our estimate. So there's more money coming into this fund than that for this year. Interest earnings are blowing the bank. We've got more coming in than what we budgeted, 425. Rentals, it's solid. Airport is solid. This is all those miscellaneous revenues that come in, and it is like other related revenue related to property tax in prior years. That's what this number comes in. Penalty and interest, prior year taxes collected at Chancery. That's what this number comes in. Okay, so you got how I build the revenue. Now we're going to go.
That revenue is, the 50 million is,
50 million.
that's not total revenue, that's not, what
That's-
budget is that? What?
That's debt service.
Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
only
This is debt service, right?
only debt service is what we're talking about. Okay, so this is where our current budget is. Our fund balance for debt service fund coming into 17-18 was 40 million. You can see that we budgeted an excess. This is probably related to the 2 cents that some commissioners changed from the general fund to the debt service fund. That's all I'll say about that. But we budgeted an increase to our fund balance in the current year. It will be better than that because in the projections for this money that we just borrowed, I put like a 1.5 million estimated interest payment for this money that we borrowed this year, and it was like 800,000. So the cost was not as bad. It'll grow. End of my story on the revenue and fund balance coming into the year, it's going to be better. So we always talk about our fund balance has got what a requirement is it's stratified on how we calculate it. It's just easy for me to, with calculations, to say 65%. If we try to keep our fund balance at 65% of our estimated appropriations for debt, that's what we're covering our payments. Okay, that's what this requirement is on. Number 4, our projected base. Now just trust me that that is what our current debt payments are. Okay. All right, so
Your debt payments are 30, or
our debt service
is the 30?
is that 47,549.
Okay.
Okay, so, well, that is our requirement, total requirement, plus other expenditures, which is trustees commission. There's some small other expenses, but that's the biggest one of that $1 million. Most of it's trustees commission. So that is just adding the two together. Projected revenues we already talked about, so right now you can see that we are projecting. And so this looks really great if we don't borrow anything. That's where we're starting with. Existing where we are today. This now adds what happens if we borrow $90 million in 18-19. This is where I was talking to you. It's that same kind of thing, but it adds these debt service payments coming in. And when we start adding that, using that, I need to come over here. I was wrong in which year, because that, wait, no, it wasn't. It's right there. That under requirement meaning is once you, yes, we have projected fund balance, but what should we have? Like you can see for, let's see, I think this is 17, 18. Yeah, this is the current year. That,
So 2 years out.
yeah, 43 million is what I'm projecting we should have. We really, using 65%, we should have 30 million. We've got really 12.7 over what we really need this year. Next year with what we borrowed, we're going to be over 8 million.
But then,
Okay, we're showing a decrease in, looks like a decrease in fund balance right there. Yeah, 782, but we still got plenty. We're still, at our 65%.
With former balances, former fund balance.
Yeah.
with what we've
That's what we're
borrowed right
doing.
now,
Yeah, and so this year, the bad year, that's when we have some debt hitting. So we're going to be under 5 million. Again, this is a projection, so no, all this can change. Probably won't be bad because our beginning number right here is going to end up better. So we might be okay. And that is assuming we're going to borrow 90 million in 18-19 with 1.5 million an estimate for interest payment. But if it's not 50 million that we borrow, what if it's only 50? I know that'll be less, but I have to calculate. Well, it should be 750. We'll use that number, 750,000. You don't have a problem till right there. Assuming you're going to do 50 there, 90 there, and not borrow anything else. Not have to build any more schools. So back to the point okay, look here.
But that's without adjusting for the variables of reappraisal and census and all
That's
that.
right, that's right. I mean, you're absolutely
That's just
right.
what we know today.
Yes, and so if it was 90 million, these are just the things, it's like the what ifs. What if we did 90, there's near your 400, that's what they projected.
Is that our cap, 90 million?
No, those are just like, they've got using that number.
fund this whole.
And have you factored in the debt that's retiring, any debt
Oh,
that's
yeah.
coming off?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
factored
yeah.
into the.
That total requirement, yes, that is based off of some other schedules. That is the declining balance. And you can see that total requirement. This is our existing debt, everything, including that we borrowed this fall. And if we didn't do anything else, it declines. It gets paid off. See, on that column, it goes down. 20 years, we're done.
Like with 08 and so on, and the crash, how did we feel it? I wasn't on the commission.
How did we feel it? At the moment, I can't remember what the tax rate was at that time and what did we do during that time. I know we were scrambling and
Some of the things we did was because the demand for schools dropped so from what it had been, y'all were able to move pennies out of debt service.
That's what we did.
Into operations.
That's what we did.
Primarily
Yeah.
in County General.
And you also delayed, because I know originally
Right.
George Creek High was supposed to
Right.
open in 2010, instead it opened in
Right.
2013.
Yeah.
So, you know, the economy is cyclic in nature, and
I put this.
so we did have issues then, right?
Yeah, it's a whole totally different, yeah, we were, you know,
We were better off than a lot of counties were, a lot better off.
yes.
Yeah.
We were building before 2008,
Yeah.
somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 new homes every year. And in 2008, it stopped.
Yeah.
And we were building less than 100 in a year for 4 or 5 years. So growth stopped, but revenue kept coming in at the same rate. So we were able to sustain our budget simply because we weren't building new things during that period of time, or at least 2 new schools a year during that period
Right,
of
we
time.
were not adding more to our debt. Well, we were adding some to our debt, but not near
Right.
this aggressive.
Right.
And, you know, Jeff, you've been on the commission long enough. When I first started doing this and working with schools, this floors me. We were building elementary schools for $8 million. High schools for about 25 to 30. And middle schools, what?
70
12,
million for
15?
a high school.
Double
And this
plus.
is what blows me, is the cost of building
Yeah.
is huge. And what year was it? We did 3 schools
Yeah.
in 1 year. I mean,
The entire Blackman project, the Blackman campus, was less than $50 million.
yeah.
And you look at a high school right now, and it's
74.
George Creek was
I
about
understand that. My first house in 3 acres was $17,000 too, back in
When I come on,
1974.
mine was 12.5.
You
when
know,
I come
and-
on the commission 28 years ago, our cap was $10 million we could borrow. Now look at it.
Okay, but everything else has too. Pickup truck now is $54,000.
It's all relative, but what we don't want to is relative-wise put ourselves in a bind where we can't get out of it, where we're really behind the 8 ball. Obviously, we've got to do some of these things. The question is whether we have to do all of it right now or not, or whether can we kind of wait and see a little bit on it.
And Commissioner, that's exactly what, you know, in doing all this, and I know that Donna said, you know, we're pretty good in 2 years, but, you know, it's fuzzy. I'm pretty good in 1 year, you know, and revenue streams and all these different variables. How much can we borrow money at? And this is a pretty simple spreadsheet. That $70,000 is an estimate of how much it costs for every $1 million of debt. 1 million cost 70,000 in debt service, principal and interest. My little cheat sheet is over here. That's where I get this. 70 million is at 3.5. 3 million is 67.2. 4% is at. So this is your sensitivity kind of part, depending on what rate of interest that the market is when we were borrowing money. That changes all this too.
I think we can assume that it's probably not going to go down.
We've been so fortunate in the last several years on our debt, on what we've been able to borrow.
Well, and Lisa, I will periodically get questions, well, what about this federal program? We have been borrowing for less than these subsidized programs, some of which we are not eligible for because of the relative wealth of our county, but our rates have been so low. It's just
But if we don't keep our fund balances good and ourselves in a good position, we won't be borrowing for those things.
And Lisa, what is our bond rating? And because that drives all that, right?
It drives all that, yeah.
Yes.
AA plus, AA1.
It's what Lisa's been doing as
Yeah.
far as maintaining good
Right.
financials.
Right.
that's been allowed us to do this.
To borrow at a lesser rate. Otherwise, it's a little bit more expensive. I mean, that's the trade-off. This is like, again, just fun facts. What I'm showing here, this is my debt schedule, our bonds, principal and interest. This year we did 81,530,000. Below it is the rate. That's our true interest cost at 2.66. Pretty darn good. When we borrowed the 101 million, that was for the judicial building in the school. So we got that at 2368. Those refundings came in good. I'm trying to, this was a $34 million bond issue in 2015, is at 2.8. So this year, this was 2014, the rate that was 369, as in 2014. That was a refunding, some refunding. This was good. 2011, we were at 2.03. That was refunding. Trying to find new money. Here's the new money in 2009. In 2009, we were at 367. We borrowed 41 million. That is. So that goes back to what you were saying in those years, what we were borrowing in 2009. We didn't do anything in 2008. We didn't borrow anything. 2007, we borrowed 42 million.
Well, for any of the viewers who are at home who stayed with us this long, I appreciate that. But I feel completely remiss if I don't mention, this is our only source of revenue, and this is because of our state legislature. They have not given us as a county any other mechanism to raise funds to offset these expenses. And so we've been very fortunate that we've been able to hold off a tax increase for as long as we have. But if people expect growth to pay for itself, don't pressure us. You need to pressure your state senators and your legislators, and this is an election year. So if you're ever going to have their ear, you're going to have it this year. So I encourage anybody who cares about this particular issue to please be loud and talk to these folks and talk to your neighbors and talk to anybody else who can apply pressure to them to give us other options, give us other avenues for raising revenue. Otherwise, it's always going to fall back on the property tax owners. Always.
Lisa, kind of bear with me a minute, okay? All of this stuff is as overwhelming as all of this stuff.
Yes.
I'm talking about what she presented versus what the school board just presented. But it appears that our current debt service is somewhere in the neighborhood of 62 cents.
Oh, yes,
62 cents.
63.83, I think.
And if we went without other revenues and we were to go 87 million by 2019, it would carry just our debt service up to about $1.90. So we'd go from 62 cents up to $1.90.
Okay, I have this built in here too. I'm just going, if we do the 90, 90, 90, 90.
Yeah, I did 87 instead of 90.
Well,
But
this is where we're over. Just using all these assumptions, this should tell us what we need. You need 16 pennies. You need 6 pennies there. No, not even no. Like 0.06 penny. That you're going to need 16 pennies. Now you're going to need 30 pennies, and then you're going to need 45 pennies. 45 pennies. It goes up. But you know, this is just the one part of the story. You can't.
And those are pennies total, not pennies year over year.
That's just.
You're not adding 45 on top of 45. are you?
I think it's. I'm short there. If I don't get it and I keep being short. Yeah,
have to add it.
I have to add it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are adding it year over year.
And it's
Yeah.
like an add 16 pennies there.
Another 30 the next year. Yeah, you're not paying anything off.
If I get 16 pennies there, though, I get more revenue, so I think it does reduce it.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out which cell you were building your formula
Yeah.
off of, which is why.
All I'm doing is saying this is how much revenue we got. it growing at 3%, you know.
And that's from today's rate?
Yeah.
90 million a
Yeah,
year.
it's kind of like, I have fund balance, I'm gonna drive it down, I'm just saying, you know, we have no fund balance policy, we're gonna spend till it goes down. I have available fund balance, but all the way down to there, you know, with these assumptions, I have fund balance, but I am just out. And
But I guess what I was trying to be clear on is, so that's how many pennies you need to add to today's tax rate, or as you go from sale to sale?
It's over to the right. This is assuming that penny is gonna grow.
Okay, so the 30 cents is on top of, it's factoring in the fact that you've raised it the year prior.
No, it's not. It's not. It's saying if I need, at this point, I need 16 pennies to take me up to where I can meet my requirement.
To fund.
Right. But if I don't do anything, now I need 30 cents to fund.
Okay, so it's not
And
16 plus 30 plus 40, okay.
No, I think you have to,
Okay.
yeah, it's not additive. But back to what you were saying, Jeff, it's this on top of the 63 pennies that's already going.
It's already there.
That's your dollar something.
Yes.
That it needs to go.
It's an additional $1.28, maybe $1.30, something like that, which is pretty much double.
So, but I just caution when we do these, there's so many variables that feed in this. This is not in stone.
So to project that many years out is, like them, we're losing our accuracy as we project that many years out.
To me, it's all, what should we be feeling? What does it think that we're gonna do? And Jeff is right. I remember, because at one point, we were doing this the same kind of thing. It's like, here comes all this. We started adding money in.
Yeah.
And then it crashed. It's like, okay, we don't need the money there. We need it in somewhere else. And then we started moving pennies out of debt service into operations because we didn't need it here. We needed it to operate.
Joe, you had something to add?
Well, I'm getting ready to make a motion. I think from what I've heard tonight, we have the property at Rocky Fork. We have all the infrastructure at Rocky Fork to build the elementary school. The best I can tell, with the total minus the 3.68 funded, would be somewhere around 32.76 million. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm not going to put the number on it. I'm just going to make a motion that we approve the funding for Rocky Fork Elementary to move forward to budget, and I'll give us the time. I'll make that motion that we approve the funding for Rocky Fork Elementary to move forward to budget. And then I'd like to make a comment.
Would you consider adding in the design fee for Rock Springs Elementary?
Yes, I think that's probably something that should be, okay, I'll go back and reword that motion. I would like to make a motion that we approve the funding to move forward to budget for Rocky Fork Elementary and for the design cost for Rock Springs Elementary addition. And I think that will give us time, before someone seconds it, that will give us time to take a little better look. And I promise I will spend some time studying some of this over the next 30-day period between now and our next meeting, and really look and get with Lisa maybe a little bit more. I think this is a very good presentation. I get it. And but it'll let us look, because
Look at what? Look at their budget of 32.7 million, or look at
the rest of this, and look at revenue and what we're going to do to our fund balance and the whole picture. So that's my motion.
Second.
Just saying.
Second.
Rocky Fork Elementary, Rock Springs
Design.
Elementary addition, only the design work of $350. That addition to Rocky Springs, we're adding classrooms?
Yes.
Nothing but classrooms, correct? Okay.
Correct.
So the core, the cafeteria, none of that stuff increases. We're just trying to keep up with where we are right there, right now. How could any type of configuration about Brown's Chapel affect this? It appears that we've got seats, and a couple of hundred seats, maybe more, at Brown's Chapel. What are we doing to utilize that school the way we're utilizing the other ones? I've still got a little bit of heartburn over that. We're building a new school, and one school it appears that we've got a couple hundred seats in.
I don't think you'll want to take them, that's almost Williamson County, when you get to Rock Springs Elementary. I don't think you want to bust the, up to.
I'm not saying bus them. I'm just saying we've got a school that's underutilized. How can that school take some of the burden off of the whole system and not just that one school? Dr. Odom, I'm sorry.
I don't think that school's going to be underutilized very much longer because they're literally building houses adjacent to right next door to the property. There's 755 houses that I would say we will see the first ones being built here in the next 3 or 4 months on that property on Blackman Road.
3 miles.
So that's what we're anticipating, is for growth itself.
Growth is
to
going
fill that
to,
school
it's
up.
already been approved. They're building with the city's development of the park. I know there are other ventures going in around there. I think we're going to see the growth, and if the city doesn't build something out there, we're probably going to be looking at doing something at Brown's Chapel in the next 2 years.
That's in the city limits.
Rockville High School's
Right.
already
It's been
committed. We're
annexed,
done.
That's funded, yes.
And what we're looking at committing for is a new elementary school.
Yes, and the design for the addition. And you had said, though, with the allowing for the design for the addition, that would let you sharpen that pencil and come back with a strong estimate, so we would know if that 9 million was a for real good number or not. So we could look at that sooner rather than later, as soon as we get that design part complete.
That's correct. And since it's at an existing school where there's existing seats, the students are seated, if we don't open it at the first of the school year, it's not going to kill us and cause a bunch of confusion among.
A lot of rezoning, we're not
Right,
doing
there's
all
not a
that.
lot of stuff going on there. They'll just be able to go from the one classroom, move into another one.
So it still helps you if we just take a baby step there
Yeah,
tonight.
it will.
Okay.
Be great.
Okay, any more questions about the motion? The motion is to fully fund Rocky Fork Elementary and to fund the $350,000 for the design piece for Rock Springs Elementary addition, with the understanding that they will be bringing that back to us with a better number as soon as they have that design piece done and they can tell us exactly what that number would look like. So that's not put off indefinitely, that's put off through design.
And we wouldn't go to the market till
Down the
the
road.
fall anyway.
He didn't put the dollar figure in the motion, do you? This is a motion.
I mean, that's what's been presented in front of us, so what do you,
But he did.
the design, just say the design fee. If I stated it wrong, just say the design fee.
Like you said, so.
Have a first and a second. Any more discussion?
Question? Call for the question.
Call for the question. Very good. Will you call for it?
I'm doing
Little clarity there.
old FFA stuff here.
I got you. I thought you had a question.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes. Very good. And then Lisa, will you be available to have this same conversation with budget next
Oh,
week?
absolutely.
Okay. Be prepared to, yes.
I'm fine.
Okay. Because you know they're going to want to have this exact same conversation.
Well, and two, just the one little point, for this committee, budget knows, but for this committee, that when we talk about elementary school, we're borrowing more than what you just said, right?
Right.
Because of the fact.
Say 16%.
That's, see, they add up the total number of K-12 students in the county and whatever percentage is the city, it's roughly 16.
When does the budget committee meet, Lisa?
A week or, yeah, a week from Thursday. Isn't it?
March
Just came out.
something,
Which,
I think it's not this Thursday, but next, isn't it?
budget,
I think it's March 7th.
March 7th. That sounds good. All right, because one is this week.
Be the 8th,
Yeah.
they meet at,
March 8th.
March 8th.
meet at 5:30 here.
Yes. I mean, I just think it's good to just kind of know what the components that make this up, and so that when you hear various things like increased rate, I mean, market's going up, borrowing rate's going up, you know, oh, that's a component, it's going to make an effect.
Well, you know, we have some pretty smart constituents out there. I know I have a couple of CPAs in my district, and they ask CPA-type questions, you know. So, you know, we've got to be prepared to give that type of answer to the people who ask those type of questions. So I think it's really good for us.
Is there any more business for this committee?
I've got a question. Let me throw you guys a curve, okay? You're in the process of finding a new superintendent, and it looks like you've got a pretty good plan together. We interact a lot. You put together a plan, we try our best to finance that plan. Have you ever thought of inviting someone from this committee, like the chair, to sit in on that selection process? I'm not necessarily saying as a voting member, but to have input from the county commission perspective. You ever thought about doing that?
School board decision.
I know it's a school board decision, but has the school board ever thought about it? To me, that new person is going to be dealing with us. And the type of perspective we would have might be different than what the school board would have. And I think they need to be somewhat compatible. That's my curve. And I would suggest that you take that to the school board and see what they say. They might tell me to mind my own business, and it wouldn't be the first time. And my feelings would not be hurt at all.
That's why I coattailed Harry Gill up here for several years.
But it affects us. That decision affects us in a major way.
That's a very good comment.
Your shoes are going to be really hard to fill. So, you know, from our perspective, we have a vested interest in your replacement. So, I would suggest that you take it and maybe even put it a lot nicer than I just put it. But it's just me. I have a feeling that if the commission participated in that selection process, once again, maybe non-voting, but participated in that selection process with some kind of input, we would start that relationship off on a much more solid footing.
I was just going to say, when they reworked the comprehensive plan, that was, when I was interviewed, one of the recommendations I made was that the school board be represented on the planning commission so there could be a sharing of information. That's the last thing I ever heard of that. So,
Maybe a quick process.
Yeah. You never got invited to a planning commission here?
Who did you make that recommendation to?
to the, what's the gentleman's name in planning?
David DeMasi.
Yeah, Doug.
Well, the mayor appoints.
You're looking at the chairman of that commission. Okay.
I knew that, that's the reason I made it.
Makeup could be very different very soon, I have a
Could
feeling. Yeah. Very good. All right, anything else? Great discussion, y'all, and thanks for hanging with us. Lisa, thanks for being so quick to respond. It helped us make a much more informed decision, I feel like. All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.